Moving on, I thought I'd lighten it up a little bit with some, funny anecdotal stories. And somebody called me and said, "Hey, we heard about your award. I think it's great. Just over your 25 years, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?" And I thought, wow, that's a hard one. We've gotten some great advice from our trustees. Our donors are smart people. They're running businesses. So we've had terrific help over the years. But I said one kind of sticks out, and it was from a gentleman named George Closter, who has passed on, but his wife, Pat Closter, is still here. And he ran a very large construction company in the region. They built commercial buildings, and I always just admired him. He had this great ability to cut to the chase and facts, and he was kind of a hard-nosed guy. So I convinced him one night to stay extra at an executive board meeting, and I thought, this is my chance to get the golden nugget of information that will unlock all the secrets of our little haven, right? Had been open a few years, but I thought, surely this man has it. So he agreed to stay, and he sat down and he said, this is after pouring himself a Manhattan, he said, let me give you the key to success. Running a business or a charity is like being in a rowboat on the ocean, and you've got a pair of oars. And sometimes the sailing is pretty smooth, and you get to enjoy the view and think about things and how you're going to plan and get to the next stage. But a lot of times there's waves hitting you from every side of the boat, and you're getting swamped. And so he goes, and you know what you got to do? And I'm sitting on the edge of my seat with anticipation thinking, here it comes. Here comes the secret information that I need. And he says, you got to pray really hard and row like hell. And I kind of thought for a second, gosh, that's a little disappointing. Waiting for some golden nugget, but it turned out to be some poignant advice. So thank you to the Closters for advice that we still use today. Now, just a few milestones that I wanted to note was the first child that we took. We had been talking about this organization, Scott and Kathleen's dream. We met with hundreds of people explaining what we wanted to do. And, and everybody said, oh, great idea, but boy, it's going to be really difficult. And I was comfortable with all the business stuff, just as a lot of trustees were. But the care for the children was difficult, right? It was a thing that I wasn't trained for. Certainly Scott and Kathleen were. So Scott told me the first child was going to be coming in March of '93. Would I like to come? And to be honest with you, I was too nervous. I thought, because boy, we've been talking about this for a long time, and now the curtain is going to go up. It's showtime, right? State of Missouri is bringing by this HIV-affected, chemically dependent newborn, and I haven't got the first clue how we take care of this kid. Now they do, thank goodness. So they've never heard the story, I've never told it to them. I stayed in the car because I didn't want to create a scene and be a part of this, but I'm sitting in the car and the State Division of Family Services pulls up, holding this swaddling baby. They walk up the steps to the original Our Little Haven building. They knock on the door, and by now I'm shaking like a leaf, thinking, oh gosh, we're in this, we're all in on this. And then I seen Scott and Kathleen reach out with the most loving and compassionate look on their face. And I thought, we got this. And I got back in the car and left, because I knew from that day forward, they knew how to take care of these kids. So that was a great feeling. The next milestone, and I'll wrap these up quick, but I'm so very honored to accept the Father Weiss Award, and I'm pretty sure if Scott and Kath didn't come up with the award, they would probably win it. And then the next gentleman probably turned it down, so I realized I'm probably a distant fourth on this award, but I'm okay with that because I know their commitment. But the other milestone was in 1995. We had been open for a little while now. We didn't have really many full-time staff, and we needed a CFO. And so Mike Bollinger and Don Beater were doing the accounting work over the weekends. and we decided we're going to hire a chief financial officer. So we begin the process. We interview a couple candidates, and Scott and Mike call me and say, we'd like to go to lunch with you at, Chili's by CBC. Okay, so we meet, and that's where Michael Bollinger tells me that he would like to take the position. And after I picked myself up off the floor and said, are you sure you really want to do this? At the time, he was the controller at Fred Kemp Homes, had a great job, moving up the ranks quickly. And I said, I'm going to give you till 6 o'clock tomorrow night to turn this down. But if I don't hear from you, the job is yours. That call never came, and our little haven's been blessed to have Michael Bollinger ever since. And then the final milestone was Father Weiss's involvement. Father Weiss was the president of Rockhurst College at the time. It's now Rockhurst University. And all of the trustees from Rockhurst were students at the time. He was the president. And I always found it a little ironic that years later we would be thrown together to run this wonderful agency with Father Weiss's stewardship. Because really, most of our experience with Father Weiss at Rockhurst University, or Rockhurst College then, was for disciplinary reasons. And so I was an average soccer player, and Scott was very involved in the fraternity, and every time the soccer team got in trouble and the SAE fraternity, we'd be in Father Weiss's office, and he'd like, I'm getting tired of talking to you guys. And so, it's only through Scott's parents, Dr. Hummel and Dixie Hummel, that he became involved in this agency. And just the irony of things, when Father Weiss was 18, he joined the Army and fought in World War II. He was stationed at Camp Gruber. He joined the Rainbow Division of the Army Infantry. And so at 18 years old, he was fighting in World War II. At 18 years old, I was the judge for the beer drinking contest of which Scott won. So fast forward a couple of years, and now Father Weiss is 21, and the Rainbow Division and Thunderbird divisions of the Army are marching 10 miles northeast of Munich, Germany, and they liberate the Dachau concentration camp. At 22 and 23 years of old, I was still the beer drinking judge, and Scott was the repeat champion for 4 years in a row. But we couldn't have done it without Father Weiss's counsel. But to finish up, people go, gosh, things must have changed over your 25 years you've been on the board and been the board chairman. My goodness, everything has changed, right? Nothing's the same. The programs have evolved. The funding mechanisms are different. Society's different. But it's always helpful and reflective to look back and say, what hasn't changed? And to the left of me are two people that have never changed. Their loving and compassion and care and commitment to these children have never wavered. And it was their vision that got all this started. I got a wonderful text from Kathleen earlier in the week, and she said, gosh, I'm going through an array of emotions. And she goes, I've been crying, not crying, joy, sad, And I said, well, this has been a wonderful journey for me and for a number of trustees. And we have you and Scott to thank for that. So thank you to Scott and Kathleen for their vision. And finally, I'll leave you with a quote that Father Weiss always used to call me the days after our executive committee meetings. He was always very complimentary about our leadership abilities, even though most of the time they were his ideas and we would simply execute them. But he always made us feel like they were our ideas. And he always said to me, he says, you take great pride in what we're doing. He said, because no man or woman stands taller than he or she who stoops to help a child. What a powerful phrase that is. We've never forgotten that. And so finally, I'll leave you with this. I've been the board chairman since 1993 or 1989, whatever you want to look at. But as I end all of our trustee meetings, the honor and the privilege is all mine. I love serving this organization. I love serving it on behalf of you. I love serving with all of our trustees. It's a terrific organization, and every day I pray that we have sustainability because these programs work. Scott and Kathleen know what they're doing, and they really created an organization that is just, it's truly outstanding and remarkable. So I thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
All right, Billy, thank you. You mixed up my notes here. So I'm not crying, I just can't see. Getting old. Enjoy dinner. We'll be back with you shortly.